Hi guys, gsndon.com, and I'm here with the LG G2, the LG flagship of the end of 2013, and we're here to review it, this interesting handset that has its physical buttons at the back, as you can see right here. This is the first smartphone from a big brand that has back buttons, and it's among the first handsets that were launched on the market with a Snapdragon 800 processor. The price tag here is $649, at least on Amazon.com, and this device was launched this fall. As far as the design goes, what we get here is a smartphone with an atypical diagonal. It's a diagonal of 5.2 inches. It's an edge-to-edge screen, as you can see. There's almost no distinction between the screen itself and the bezel, so a very nice design. The phone is glossy and slippery, as you can notice from the back shell, made of plastic. It's plasticky but solid at the same time. It's also discreetly curved, if you look at it closely, shaped like a pebble, if you can say that. The thickness is 8.9 millimeters, so reasonably thick, 143 grams if I'm not mistaken. As far as the weight is concerned, it feels much lighter than it looks on paper, and I have to say I'm really digging this very slim bezel. You can also tap the screen to wake it up, from what I know. Here we go, worked third time. And the entire front is covered in Gorilla Glass 3, which is a good thing for protection's sake. There is also a dotted pattern at the back. If you look at it closely, you can see the dots here beneath the slippery and glossy area. This handset comes in black or white, and at the top or the front we got the earpiece, we got the camera, proximity sensor, and we got a notification LED here. On the left side we have a micro SIM card slot right here where my finger is pointing. We'll remove it with a special key. At the top we got the infrared and microphone. They're very hard to spot since there are black holes on a black device. Microphone here and infrared emitter here, if I'm not mistaken. And then at the bottom we have a lot of features. We got the audio jack, got the micro USB, we got speakers here, and we also have another microphone. This micro USB supports TV out, USB on the go, and USB host. There is a slight silver ring thing going on the side of the device. You can barely spot it. At the back we have the 30 megapixel camera with LED flash on the side, the volume off, volume up and volume down buttons, and the on off button right here. This volume button also integrates an LED that can be set to illuminate on notifications if you want, or not, depending on your needs. And this is an original design, that's for sure. LG really struck gold this time. Everything can be said about the LG G2 except the fact it's not original. We pretty much like this design, and we got used pretty fast with these buttons here. The idea was that LG made some studies and found that your hand sits here anyway, and it's very easy to press the on off button and volume buttons. Sometimes I find myself pressing the camera by mistake, which has got to be harming the lens somehow, so that's not very good. But as I said, I got used to the design pretty fast. On the hardware side of things, you get here a 5.2 inch screen. This one is a True HD IPS Plus Full HD screen. The CPU is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 quad-core processor with a clock rate of 2.26 GHz, and we have Cryte 400 cores and a GPU, that's the Adreno 330. And now for the rest of the specs, we have 2 gigs of RAM here, and the storage available here is either 32 GB or 16 GB, depending on the version you buy. And you should know that if you buy the 16 GB version, you only get 10 gigs available for storage, which is kind of a bit of a letdown, especially since you don't have a micro SD card slot available here. On the connectivity side, we've got LTE, quad band, GSM, GPRS, Edge, Bluetooth 4.0, NFC, Wi-Fi, DLNA, Wi-Fi Direct, GPS, GLONASS, and infrared. So a lot of stuff to play with on the connectivity area. As far as camera goes, 30 megapixel LED flash and 2.1 megapixel here, actually capable of HD capture or even more. There's FM radio, stereo FM radio with RDS, accelerometer, proximity sensor, active noise cancelling, and Dolby audio, plus a few other audio gimmicks that you'll learn later on. The battery here is a 3000 mAh unit. It's a pretty impressive polymer unit. You'll see immediately why. I've taken a bunch of screenshots to prove you why this battery is so hyped and impressive. Okay, so 3000 mAh lithium polymer unit on paper should provide 900 hours of standby, 17 hours and 30 minutes of talk time. In our tests, as you can see, we started at 100% at 12 o'clock with the brightness at 50%. It reached 84% after 2 hours and 19 minutes. Impressive. We had the Wi-Fi on the whole time, and then you can see after no less than 9 hours we were at 3%. I remind you, we started at 12 o'clock, we stopped at 9 o'clock. It was continuous full HD playback, as you can see here, and the battery lasted for, here we go, 9 hours and 15 minutes, which, if I'm not mistaken, is very close to the Nexus 7 tablet from 2012, so a very impressive battery. By the way, it's also pretty close to the performance of the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, so a very good battery here. You should get 2 days of usage easily with this power source. Now, as far as the audio goes, I'm going to show you the headphones. This is it. Nice metal feel, this area here. Also slightly inclined, like the ones of the Nokia Lumia devices. They go in the ear with a slight inclination. Okay, and it's an interesting thing about this LG G2. When you connect an accessory, any accessory, it triggers a certain panel. So if I connect the headphones, you can see a special panel with apps available here. You can also edit it, it's cool. If I connect the USB cable, it will also trigger an animation at least, if not a panel. Okay, now let's check out the music player on the device. You can opt for play music, or you can opt for LG's player available here. And this is the organization of the music by songs, albums, artists, genres, playlists, folders, nearby devices and cloud. And if you start to play a tune, let's try something that doesn't have a copyright. Turning up the volume. Maximum volume. We also have a nifty equalizer here. It's called audio effects. You got pure surround, bass reducer. There's also a custom option with all the things you want to tweak available here. And this one is a pretty nice equalizer here. Some of the settings available right here. Here we go. Notification, sleep timer, audio effects, and cloud accounts. So pretty nifty. I have to say the volume is what I call reasonable. However, it's above the volume of the Nexus 5. If you want to compare LG's, this volume is better than the one of the Nexus 5, but it's much lower than the HTC One, and it's deafening sound. This is the maximum volume. Okay, so I have to say that we got good clarity, good bass. However, there's also a slight defect to these speakers. One of them is that I'm not still convinced that there are actually two speakers here. I'm guessing it's the same trick as the Nexus 5. One of them is a speaker and the other one is not. And another thing I must mention here is that it's very easy to cover the speaker when you're playing a game. For example, if I'm playing a title and I'm holding the device like this, as you can see, it's hugely easy to cover the speaker and muffle the sound in your game or video playback. Now, as far as the headphones are concerned, they're very comfy. And this is the only pair of headphones bundled with a phone that I ever felt I could not take to the maximum level of volume. If I did it, my ears would hurt, so their volume is huge, deafening, and you would better not listen it to the maximum volume if you can. Overall, it's nice audio. It's on par with the Galaxy S4. It's pretty much on par with the Galaxy Note 3 as well. We also got radio bundled here. Okay, trying to get rid of that thingy. As I said, we got radio bundled here. You have to look for it. Here we go. FM radio. This is the interface. You can look for your station. Some more options here. Scan station, add station, listen via speaker, and sleep timer. So all those nice features that you need when listening to the radio. This was the audio. I'm comparing this device with the Galaxy S4 and the Note 3, and a very interesting headphone here, a very interesting remote control, excuse me, here. It's very long and it has 3 clearly separated buttons. Enough about this. Let's talk about video, screen, and the playback experience. We got a special video app here and some bundled videos from LG. It's always nice to see that they bundle videos so we don't have to deal with our own. Here we go. One of the preloaded videos. Let's start it from the beginning. So we're dealing here with a 5.2 inch True HD IPS Plus screen. It's a Full HD screen, and this is a preloaded video app. You can zoom in while watching the video, but you did that even more than a year ago on the Galaxy S3 if I'm not mistaken, so this feature doesn't look that impressive anymore. Now one of our captures with a camera full of color. As you can see, the colors are very vivid. And aside from zooming in, let me show you some of these settings and options available here. So what we got here is an interesting way of viewing the other videos while you're watching this one. So this one is a pretty cool feature. Then we've got this feature called Q Slide. You can see that it triggers a multitasking. You can do something else in the background while you're watching the video. You can decrease its size, increase it, make it full screen again, and basically browse the web and check out your email while you're watching the video in a smaller screen. You can also zoom a certain area of the video while you're watching it. This one is a pretty confusing feature. I don't really get its purpose. You can also share it. You can share your video. You can beam it to TV sets. So a lot of options on the video side and ways to fit the video to the screen. Then there's subtitles, play speed, share, trim, delete, a bunch of settings here, autoplay brightness, smart video. So a lot of stuff to play with while you're watching the video. There's also the auto pause option here and many more things to look into. Let's see what else. The player we got here, the video player, support MKV and MOV files. It also comes with support for MP4, DivX and XVID, and the famous AC3 codec is supported as well. Now we're going to go to the settings, display, and you can see that we got settings for the front touch buttons pattern, brightness, screen timeout, fade off effect, auto rotate screen, daydream, font type, smart screen, which stays on when the phone detects your face, and smart video, it pauses when the phone cannot detect your face. That's what happened earlier. You saw it auto paused because it couldn't find my face. There are options here for the notification LED. There's a front LED and the back one, the one that's in the power button. There's aspect ratio correction, so useful settings available here. This screen has a pixel density of 424 ppi. It has very vivid colors. And aside from those vivid colors, we have great viewing angles, as you saw earlier. This is what the screen looks like under a microscope. We also have very good contrast. Screen under the microscope right here. So good contrast, good behavior in sunlight, and it achieves 350 lux units on white and 3 lux units on black. The white levels are okay, but the Nexus 5 achieves 400 lux and the HTC One 500 lux, so they could be better. Also 3 lux on black means that we have a pretty bright black, and the black could be darker if possible. This is a very good screen with the RGB stripe pixel arrangement. And one last mention here, I've heard LG bragging when they launched this phone that they have a first hi-fi audio compatible handset. The idea is this one. This device supports playback for 24-bit 192 kHz audio files. So it's high quality music, ultra high quality music, basically hi-fi audio, 24-bit playback. On this device, I frankly don't know another phone with such high quality audio features. Now, as far as the camera is concerned, we got here a 13 megapixel shooter with optical image stabilization. The camera is right here. We got an LED flash near it, and it has a maximum resolution for the pictures of 4160 over 3120 pixels. It also has 9-point autofocus, and I'm going to use this little car as a sample to take pictures using this camera. By the way, this device uses a sensor that's a Sony IMX135 Exmor RS. The size of the sensor is 1/3 of an inch, and the pixel size here is 1.12 microns. This is the picture I've just taken. Here it is, as you can see, bright red but not oversaturated, a lot of detail, slight noise that becomes apparent when you zoom in, and other stuff worth mentioning here about the camera. The aperture is f2.4, and we got a 4mm focal length. As far as the UI is concerned, you can see that we got the flash options here, and that 9-point autofocus I was talking about. We got this option to turn on the front camera, and then there's the settings area where we have a huge variety. We got settings for the brightness, which is pretty much the exposure if I'm not mistaken, settings for the focus, auto, manual and face tracking, the image size that I mentioned earlier, the cheese shutter, you can turn it on or off, ISO options, white balance, you can play with color effects if you want. We got a timer, geotagging, shutter sound, you can assign the volume key some features, and that's pretty much it. Standard options for the camera. Here you have the shutter button, then you can switch to the video mode, and we have these nifty modes here. We got shot and clear, dynamic tone, which is HDR, panorama, 3D panorama, burst shot, beauty shot, dual camera, also including your face in the capture, time catch shot that takes a picture and starts taking it to it a bunch of seconds before you actually press the shutter, intelligent auto, sports, night, and shot and clear is basically the eraser mode. You can erase someone that steps into the frame and bothers your shot. So those are all the modes. They feel slightly underwhelming compared to those offered by the Galaxy S and Note series. Okay, let's see what else we have here. We also have the video settings, some modes here as well, live effect, draw recording, tracking, zoom, you'll see that later on in a sample. The settings here include the ability to do Full HD 60 frames per second capture or Full HD 30 frames per second capture. There's also the ability to tweak the brightness, white balance, color effects and all that. As I said, modes here as well. And now let's talk about this device and the samples we took using this camera. For that I'm going to resort to a gallery. As you can see, we have 132 samples, which is pretty impressive. So let's take them one by one. First of all, I like to say that the colors here are realistic. There is no problem of oversaturation and things like that. It's a very good set of pictures in both clarity and quality. There's nothing to complain about even when you zoom in. The colors are vivid, the brightness is okay, the contrast is okay. And this is a series of burst shots that I'm going to skip. Colorful images, as you can see, no problem even when the sun is setting. The quality in full daylight is above the one of the Galaxy S4 and the HTC One, which is pretty impressive. I also have some macro shots available here, some close-ups, a variety of objects that are pretty well done, and I've even taken a picture in the same conditions as the one of the Galaxy Note 3 I played with a while ago. The shots look pretty good, so the macro area and close-ups are covered pretty well. We also have a panorama in about the same area. This is the Panorama 1 and Panorama 2. Very impressive, although it's not on the same resolution as the one of the Galaxy S4. That one could take panoramas of 60 megapixels, this one only 5 megapixels as far as I know. There's also 3D panorama that didn't work out so well for me. I wasn't that impressed by it, I was expecting just a little bit more. And moving even further, we got a time catch shot. Here it is, the time catch shot. I saw a crow, tried to catch it in mid-flight, and this is what I got. So it captured the seconds before my press of the shutter. The concept is good, but the bird was moving and I didn't get it quite right. As I said, unimpressive 3D panorama. And now to show you the full power of the HDR, I stumbled upon a Batman figurine in a shop, and the brightness was exaggerated near it, too many lights. So this is what I did with the HDR option. This is the very much light standard mode, no option activated. and then you activate HDR and this comes out very impressive. Okay, now the night shots, believe it or not, I have used this device to take some pictures during the night, and frankly I was underwhelmed. I shouldn't say underwhelmed because they're not totally a disaster, they're the kind of so-so pictures. For example, this one is actually very good. However, it's winter now and sometimes you may blame the problems of the camera on the temperature. Sometimes I say. I have to say that overall this is a very good day camera, but at night things tend to go a bit wrong. A lot of noise, a lot of blurriness, and this is better than the iPhone 5s still when it comes to night capture. And now in the video department we can either do 1080p 30 frames per second or 1080p 60 frames per second, with the result being a video like this one. So let's go straight from the beginning. Both types of capture are done in MP4, and the bitrate for 30 frames per second Full HD is 20 megabytes per second, while the bitrate for 60 frames per second is 30 megabytes per second, once again Full HD. The audio capture is done in stereo at 156 kilobytes per second and a sampling rate of 48 kilohertz. Sometimes when you're filming, the camera tends to lose the focus only a little bit. Let me show you some more of this video capture, like this one. When zooming in, the quality is kept pretty good. By the way, this problem with the losing of the focus is also encountered on the LG Nexus 5, so the LGs share that problem like a family. And now you're going to see a 60 frames per second video. Here we go. Take it from the start. As you can see, everything is smoother. That's the advantage of the 60 frames per second video. We got good level of detail, but once again, when you're filming at night, the results are not so impressive. Actually, when I was filming at one point, the results were very bad. That's why I said that at night the camera is not so reliable. Once again, I could blame it on the cold. It's December after all. And there is another thing here. You should know that oftentimes you'll be tempted to press the camera by mistake because it's near the volume button, and that may affect it. You may make it blurry, so keep that in mind when judging this camera. So overall, if I were to draw a conclusion about the camera, I'd say that it's about on the same level as the one of the Galaxy Note 3 and above the Samsung Galaxy S4, just a tiny bit above the HTC One, but not at low light capture. Now I'm going to show you what the software is about here. And about phone, software information. This device is running Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean, and as far as the web browser is concerned, we've got the standard one here. You can also use Chrome, but I'm just going to use the standard one. gsm1.com, our website. Here we go. It's reasonably fast, not the fastest I've ever tested. As you can see, I've seen much faster. And frankly speaking, the scrolling could have been smoother just a little bit. I feel that there's a certain millisecond of extra scrolling speed missing here. However, the crisp screen may allow you to read the news even without having to zoom in, which is a big advantage. But once again, the scrolling could be a bit faster and the speed of the browser could once again be faster. Now, as far as the benchmarks are concerned, we got a ton of screenshots to show you. Some of them even include games, but we don't want to talk about that here. So I've decided to compare the LG G2 against the Nexus 5 and the Galaxy Note 3 because all of them share the Snapdragon 800 CPU. In Quadrant we scored, as you can see, an impressive 17,000 points. We beat the Nexus 5 and its 8,000 points, got beaten by the Galaxy Note 3 and its 21,000 points. Next up, Antutu, huge score, 33,987. We beat the Nexus 5 with its 22,000 points, and we got beaten by the Note 3 again with its 35,000 points. Nanomark, 58.7 frames per second, got beaten by both the Nexus 5 and Note 3 with 60 plus frames per second. And Velamo, impressive score, 2,930 points. We beat the Nexus 5 by about 1,600 points, and we beat the Note 3 finally by 100 points. Next up, 3D Mark. In Ice Storm Unlimited we scored 11,000 points. Meanwhile, in this version of the rundown, we ran the test twice. As you can see, the first time we scored much less, 11,000 points, and the second one, 15,000 points. Got beaten by the Nexus 5 with its 16,000 points and the Note 3 with an amazing 19,000 points. Browser Mark 2.0, 2,885. We beat the Nexus 5 by 100 points, once again beaten by the Galaxy Note 3 by 3,055. I should mention that the Galaxy Note 3 has more RAM, and that has been a bit of a scandal concerning some benchmarks that Samsung has messed with, so I wouldn't take these benchmarks for granted. So at least the LG G2 beats the Nexus 5, in case you're wondering, in most of the tests. Okay, now let's see how the device does as far as the temperature is concerned. We played a bit of games on it. As you can see, it reached 42.1 degrees Celsius after playing 15 minutes of Riptide GP2, which means the device tends to get a bit overheated in the back area, and that may bother you while you're playing a game. One thing that bothered me, speaking of bothersome things, is the very crowded notification area. It's hard to find the settings button. It's actually this little one here. In time you get used to it, but at first glance, where's the settings button? Could be this one. It's not. It's actually this one here. And I don't like clutter, that's why I don't like the notification area. And let's analyze it and the options it offers. First of all, it offers quick memo. Just like the name says, you can scribble down something fast. You've seen a dog with 5 legs, you want to write a note about it, or simply write pick up milk. You can also change the option of your pen, the color, the background of your note, so you can take a real note. You can use an eraser and erase your crazy things, and you can use an overlay mode like this. Okay, now once you're done with it, let's go to notification. We got here the Q slide feature. Well, Q slide is sort of a multitasking, and if you deactivate it, you get rid of the clutter from the notification area, but if you activate it, you get a bunch of apps that you can use at the same time in smaller windows. We got your web browser here, we got your calendar here, and we got the memo here. Apparently I can only use 2 apps for some reason. Okay, anyway, the idea is to overlap them like this, so if I'm doing some web browsing, I can enlarge the page, check out the calendar, so you can use 2 apps at the same time. For some reason I'm apparently limited to 2 apps. Let's see. Now let's try with 3 apps and maybe 1 more. Maximum number of windows attained, so that's a bummer. Okay, continuing the notification options here, we got Wii Remote. This one allows you to control your TV really fast. Then sound, data, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, NFC, hotspot, Miracast, and battery saver. That should turn on when you're below 30% battery. You can also edit this list and add some of the features you see here, or remove some of them if you want a cleaner list. Okay, and now in the call area, let's go to the settings and let's find the call. This is the call area. I want to show you a feature here, interesting one. It's called voice enhancement. It enhances the voice clarity in noisy environments so you can hear more clearly, and it's a welcome setting if you ask me. In the general area you will find the gestures, like the fact that you can double tap on the screen to start it, so instead of having to press the back button, I do this and the device starts up and saves me the trouble of pressing the back button. There are also a variety of other gestures. You can answer an incoming call if you bring the phone to your ear. You can flip the phone to silence incoming calls. You can pause a video by flipping the phone, and many other gestures and features. We also have one-handed operation. You can actually move your keyboard like this to the left or to the right for easier one-hand use. If you're a lefty, you're going to move the keyboard here, and that's going to be much easier for you. Okay, then there's battery saving tips, some of the option and the stuff you can turn off to save even more battery, even though the device has a huge battery and you shouldn't be so cheapskate about it. There is also a mode that's called slide aside. Well, slide aside will need to have a more complex explanation for me. They can turn it on first. The idea goes like this. I'm inside an app, let's say Twitter, then I'm inside the Play Store, and I decide to do a finger gesture like this with 3 fingers on the screen. I do something like this and save the app. Then there's Twitter. I do something like this, or try to do it, and I have saved 2 apps. What I did was set them in a multitasking mode like this, as if there were pages or tabs in a browser. I can access them quickly, shut them down, and this is a cool multitasking way on the LG G2. Back to the settings, see what we've missed. Okay, so we got here guest mode. If you have someone a stranger using your phone, or a relative or a kid, you can set a lock pattern, set the apps he can view, so the little kid doesn't stumble upon some mature pictures or something like that. There's also security features, device administrator, unknown sources, and the usual bunch of settings. Okay, so what you see here is the Android experience that had been customized by LG with what we could call the Optimus UI. This means you get a bunch of their icons and their very own widgets. So they have their own widgets, their own icons, their own wallpapers. Beautiful ones actually, as you can see. And there is even the option to change your theme. You can also press the menu button here, make your theme look like a marshmallow if you want. And you can even change the icons of your standard apps. I keep the app pressed, and then I press this little option, and these are the icon options I can select, but nobody wants us to change the option of YouTube, for example. So speaking of customized things, I really like the lock screen we got available here, this one, and its nice effect of actually glancing at what's happening behind it. And now I want to show you a demo of a feature called QPair. Initially we don't have QPair installed here, but I downloaded the app from the Play Store. This is it, QPair. You can pair your LG G2 phone with your LG G Pad 8.3 tablet. Now I turned it on. I have to activate Bluetooth. It's already activated, and now I'm going to activate QPair here as well. Okay, it's activated. Okay, now we're waiting for them to synchronize. Now we need a QPair app here, and the sync should happen right now. As you can see, I'm connected to the G Pad and I'm connected to the G2. So the phone and tablet are now connected. What this connection does is that on the tablet you can now see the calls you get on the phone, you can see the messages you get here with notification, and even social networking stuff. As you can see right here, Twitter and Facebook will be notified on your tablet even though you get stuff on your phone. You can even transfer quick memo shots from the tablet to the phone and from the phone to the tablet. So quick memo saved on the tablet will be saved to the gallery on the phone, and you can even share internet between the two. There's a recent app sticker, and this is pretty much everything that QPair is about. If you own an LG phone and tablet like this, you can use them in tandem without a problem. Now back to the LG G2. There's another interesting feature here. Let's say I'm in a picture, this one, I keep it pressed, trying to keep it pressed. Okay, the idea was to get it to trigger the copy to clip tray feature, and this clip tray is basically your clipboard where you can copy stuff. You can even do that for web links if I'm not mistaken. This is it. There's the clip tray option. So my clip tray now holds a bunch of pictures, and this link here, what you can do with them, it paste them in your email, for example, and that's pretty cool. Okay, now as far as the call is concerned, this is the dialer. Looks old-fashioned, but it works just fine. You have a very good signal on this phone, and you also have smart dial for both names and numbers. And once again, the call clarity and quality is excellent. Now is the time of the review where I show you the full list of apps that are pre-installed on this device. We got your usual calculator here. Then comes the calendar. It's an atypical calendar, not exactly the typical Google Calendar. Then there is the Chrome browser, and then there is let's see here, Gmail, obviously, Google+, Hangouts, LG Backup, pretty nice feature. Allows you to back up your items, do a quick transfer to other phones, and restore your stuff. There's LiveSquare that I didn't exactly understand. The idea is to gather your daily pictures. As you can see, you can also gather your daily videos, Facebook statuses, and tweets. You gather all of them in a single place called LiveSquare. Feels like stalking, but it's a memento of your actions during the day. Then there's the obvious maps. Okay, accept and continue. Skip for now. And let's also see public transport and satellite. As you can see, it's pretty intuitive, it's pretty fast, no problem with Google Maps here. I wonder when other makers will start offering their own apps. Nokia is doing it, maybe Samsung and LG will come with their own navigation apps someday. Okay, moving even further, there is a memo app. Obviously you can use it to scribble stuff down, write stuff like pick up milk. There's also the option to attach a bunch of images, photos, audio, record voice, location, date and time, or even draw. You can do a variety of changes to your pen. And that's pretty much everything you can do with your memo. Then there's messaging, photos, there's a music app that you saw earlier, and there's also a notebook here. This one is pretty interesting since you can create more complex notes. This one reminds me of the S Note on the Galaxy Note devices. You have an option for text, you have an option for the pen, once again with a variety of thicknesses, opacity, colors, and brush types, so to say, eraser, and the option to add a sticker, image, photo, video, record video, voice, location, and more. Let's see the stickers. Takes long to load, meaning they're cool or complex. So you can create a complex multimedia note and save it in a notebook. And let's see if you have a template of that. You can create something like this. This is a complex one with pie charts, sales, revenue, and all that. And the list of apps continues. Let's see what we got here. We got playbooks, play games that you already know, play newsstand, play store, quick remote. This one allows you to control the TV set. So you can change the channel, mute it, and select to add even more TVs. Setting, there is also the option to create tasks. You can set a reminder, a subject, description, and repeat to have it reminded to you daily. Then there is an update sender, there is a video editor with basic features, there's weather, YouTube, and a dictionary with a bunch of languages selected here. We have English to Italian now. You can also associate this dictionary to your quick translator. Quick translator will detect, using the camera, will detect the text on a certain book or screen and will translate the words instantly. There is a file manager here that looks pretty nice. There's Polaris Viewer 5 with the option to view doc files, Excel files, and PowerPoint files with ease. And then there is the LG application store, LG Smart World, with an updated interface as usual. Takes a long while to load, not the first time it's loading so hard. Here we go, recommendation, stuff for Christmas, fonts, bundles, best games, LG special, stuff picks, coupons, and all that. Okay, there's a task manager here, obviously. Stop all the apps and you're done. Okay, now it's the end of the review where we review the pros and cons of this device, and now let's check them out. So the pros, obviously we got an original design, one that you can get used to. LG arrived to the conclusion that you need buttons on the back after their studies show that you're more likely to put your finger here, and they were right, I have to say it. We got a super battery inside this device. This battery offered up 9 hours of video playback or even more. Then we have a very good screen, a pretty good camera if you ask me. It's above the one of the Galaxy S4, so it's superior to the Galaxy S4. And there are those nice extras here like quick memo and the Q-Slide features and all the goodies we can get. You can also trigger quick memo, by the way, like this. Okay, and also on the plus side there's the high power hardware, Snapdragon 800 CPU plus 2 gigs of RAM plus enough storage, I would say. There's a nice custom UI, there's a bunch of very good headphones, and those are all the pros of the device. Now on the con side we got the audio that's not so impressive with the speaker here. It's very easy to muffle the speaker when you're playing a game. Hold the device like this. We got a glossy and slippery body. And as far as the storage is concerned, this is a 16GB phone, of which only 10GB are available to the user, which is not enough if you ask me. Then there is the cluttered notification area that I'm not very fond of. And then, frankly speaking, the screen could be brighter. This is the maximum brightness of the screen. I said earlier that the screen is very nice. I meant the colors, I meant the contrast, and everything else, maybe aside from the brightness, I've seen much brighter, to be frank. Also, the low light capture of the camera was not impressive at all, especially considering what LG promised us. And also, frankly speaking, the video capture, I wanted a bit more after seeing the Galaxy Note 3 and its cool capture. So the final grade here, we give this device a 9.3 out of 10 for design, 9.5 out of 10 for the hardware, and a 9.5 out of 10 for the operating system and user interface. The final grade is 9.43 out of 10. This is a top 3 phone of 2013. It has a very good price, and I would say that it's better than the Galaxy S4 and even better than the HTC One because it's very original as far as the design goes. It's also more powerful, it also has a better camera in some aspects, and overall it's a nifty experience to have in your pocket. That's it from gsmdome.com. Bye bye.